guest today on Meinl Radio is Jürgen Reil, better known as Ventor, of the legendary German thrash metal band Kreator. When thrash metal was in its early days, there was a movement happening in the US with bands such as Metallica, Exodus, Slayer, Anthrax, and Megadeth leading the charge. Shortly thereafter, over in Europe, another thrash metal movement was forming, with German bands such as Sodom, Destruction, Tankard, and Kreator as the frontrunners. With their classic 80s releases, Inless Pain, Pleasure to Kill, Terrible Certainty, and Extreme Aggression, Kreator left an indelible impression on future metalheads worldwide. These albums are consistently listed as an influence on musicians and bands that followed in Kreator's footsteps. It was with this knowledge in mind, well, it was actually with this experience in mind, as I was a teenager in the 80s, a drummer who loved thrash metal and who played thrash metal in a thrash metal band. And I eagerly and somewhat nervously agreed with my colleague Norbert in Germany to interview Jürgen for our podcast. Jürgen was already with our Meinl Cymbals team in Germany to film video content for us. Norbert thought it would be a good idea to get him on the podcast, and thus, here we are. It's funny, I know that I was nervous because I forgot to start the interview out with my usual, "Hi, I'd like to welcome everybody into the Meinl Radio podcast," thing that I always say. I just launched right into the interview. But Jürgen was completely relaxed, and that made the interview very easy. From my end, it was great to get to ask Jürgen questions about Kreator's early days, such as the time they spent on Noise Records, and the time they spent touring with one of my absolute favorite bands of that era, the French-Canadian metal band Voivod. It was also nice to hear that Jürgen and Kreator are busier than they've ever been. So, a very big thank you to him for agreeing to sit down to this interview and making the time for it. And now, onto the podcast. So, this is interesting for all of our listeners out there. Right now, I'm doing this a little bit differently. We have Jürgen from the absolutely world-famous, groundbreaking thrash metal band Kreator here with us. He's a Meinl artist, has been for some time. I'm watching him, and he's watching me over video, and we're recording the audio for this. Now, the first question I want to ask here, Jürgen, is I grew up knowing you as Ventor. Where did that name come from?
I just made it up because, like,
it's cool.
Yeah, like the way you say Jürgen, it sounds so wrong. But if somebody on the planet says Ventor, it's always perfect. So I made my name more international, I thought, back then. So
I got you. So how do I need to say your name?
Whatever you like.
Okay, awesome. So my colleague Norbert tells me that the area of Germany that you came from, is it Ruhrgebiet? Is that
Yes.
how you say it?
Yes.
Okay, I got that right.
Yeah.
He said it was a really, like a mining area, a very tough working class area of Germany.
Exactly, yeah.
Not a great place for teenagers to grow up, is that?
It was good.
It was good,
nice.
okay.
Yeah, well, a lot of friends. We were a lot of friends together, and even as kids, it was like a big community. So everybody was working kids. So we were all like same idiots on the same yard, yeah.
And you met, now I'm going to mess his name up. You met, is it Mil or Mille? How do you say his name?
Yeah, Mille.
Mille. So
Yeah.
you met Mille there when you guys were really little.
Yeah, I met him in kindergarten.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you stayed friends that entire time?
Yes.
Okay.
Over
so
50
you guys,
years.
wow, holy cow. So you guys started out, you were influenced by bands like Kiss and AC/DC, the kind of the usual stuff?
Yeah, Kiss was the main reason. It's like when we started, it was like we were saying like, yeah, let's be like Kiss. So that's how it started, everything. And then we were, nobody could play any instruments, but we already had a band. And then
Nice.
we started to learn everything, like how to play drums, how to play guitar, how to do everything, set up an amp, whatever. We didn't know anything. It started
go ahead, sorry.
No, come on, ask.
Did you choose the drums, or did the drums kind of choose you?
First I was supposed to be the singer, And then nobody didn't really have the money for a drum set, or there was no drummer around. I had some money on my bank account from a celebration in Germany when you get what is it? Konfirmation. That's how we call it.
Confirmation.
Yeah.
In the Lutheran or Catholic Church. Yeah.
In Evangelic. So I got little money from the relatives. So I saved it on the bank. It was supposed to be for a little moped. And then we decided, come on, let's buy a drum set from that money, and that's how it went.
Wow. So you got money for your confirmation. All I got, I mean, this sounds kind of blasphemous for me to say it, but all I got was a Bible for my confirmation. I didn't get any money. Man, you're lucky with that instance. So if Kiss was like your first big influence, what was your first Kiss album?
Destroyer.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And so if Destroyer is kind of like, they'd been through the first 3 Kiss albums, and then Alive kind of summed up the first 3 Kiss albums.
Yep.
And then Destroyer was a whole new era.
Yep.
So when you went back and listened to the first 3 Kiss albums, did it sound kind of strange to you after being introduced to them by Destroyer?
It did, but it was interesting. Like to listen to this different time periods of a band. It's the same with Kreator now. If you listen to different time periods of the band, it's totally different than it's now. And I like that. So progression in directions, whatever. If you play music, you are free. You can do whatever you like. And that's what really got me into that. So yeah, that was cool.
Now, I have to ask, were you a fan of 80s Unmasked Kiss?
Yes. I was a fan of everything. Elder was a little hard. The Elder, that was a little hard, but it was interesting also. Yeah, but listen to it now. Listen to it now, and it opens up a new level in everything. It's like,
really?
Whoa. Yeah. It's strange. Yeah.
You know, my first concert that I ever saw, like, big live Coliseum arena concert, was Kiss on the Asylum tour. Mm-hmm. And no, I'm going to take that back. That was my second. I saw Kiss on the Asylum tour with Wasp opening up on the Last Command tour.
All right.
That was a good show to see.
Yeah. There was did you get a 20-minute version of I Wanna Be Somebody?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yeah. It was a great show, though. Kiss played The Who's Won't Get Fooled Again at the end. It was fun.
Yeah.
What was your first big show? What was your first arena show?
What was it? I think Judas Priest.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which tour?
What was that? Fuck. Screaming for Vengeance. Screaming for Vengeance.
Okay, yeah, right on. That's a great tour to see him on.
Yeah, it was nice.
You know, I was just doing yard work yesterday listening to the Defenders of the Faith album. Right, such a good record still.
It is, yeah.
Oh boy, we're showing our age here.
2 weeks ago, I was at the Judas Priest concert with Saxon and Uriah Heep. That was a nice show. So there was like all the old cracks on stage. Everybody was right there. It was amazing. It was really amazing.
How fun. I mean, you know, we got to celebrate these guys now while they're still here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So you're influenced by Kiss, and eventually bands like Motorhead are coming along and showing you that heavier ways of doing things can be done. But what was that light bulb moment that went off for you where you thought, thrash, this is maybe what I'd like to try. Like, I'm really into this.
The Kill 'Em All, Metallica Kill 'Em All record. That was like the eye-opener for everybody in our area. It was like, whoa, that's the music we really like. So you could put all your aggression in there, all your anger, whatever. It's like, yeah.
And So if that was your first entrance to Metallica, did you like what came next? Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets and so on?
Yes. I lost a little bit interest on the Black album, but before that, everything was perfect.
You know, it's funny. I went to the record store to buy the Black album. They had a midnight sale, and I stood in line. I bought it. I went home, and I thought, "What the hell is this?" And the next day, I came back, and I was holding my nose and giving the thumbs down sign, like holding the CD to return it. And the guy at the counter was like, "Oh, so apparently you didn't like it." And I said, "No, I want my money back." But then when the Load record came out, I thought, the Black album's not so bad after all. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Well, so watching early videos of you, or at least, early stuff, it looks like you're playing open-handed in some of those videos.
Yes, I did.
Do you write and draw with your right hand or your left hand?
I'm right-handed.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did that happen? How did the open-handed thing happen?
I didn't know any better. Really?
When did you figure it out? Were you playing with some...
I never had any drum lessons. Never. Everything I know, everything I do is self-taught. So, when I went to shows, I was watching the drummer mostly to know how am I gonna do like a roll or whatever. Like, how is it? There was no YouTube, there was no internet back then, so I had to wait for the next show to learn something new from whatever drummer, you know. That was my way to go.
Well, was there a drummer, maybe he was a local guy that you played local shows with, or maybe it was a guy that you saw live? Which drummer do you think you watched that taught you the most?
Neil Peart.
Okay.
Yeah. Later in the drumming process, in the beginning, I was really impressed by Dave Holland back then in Priest, because he was like straightforward, not a lot of gimmicks, not a lot of stuff, but everything he did was right there. That was kind of like I was liking. I was like how I was like to hear the drums. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And then later on, Neil Peart, as your skill sets became more refined.
He opened up a new book, you know, because first it was all like a percussion instrument for me. And when I first saw like Exit Stage Left was my first introduction to Rush. When I saw that, I was like, whoa, there are so many ways to express yourself with the drums, and he really opened up a new book. That was nice.
You know, what I really love about Neil Peart, and a lot of people will talk about his crazy fills and all of his skill sets with his hands, but what I liked was that the songs were not the same songs if he didn't play those exact same parts.
Yeah, that's right.
He played a song on his drums.
Yeah, exactly.
Who was the thrash metal drummer that really inspired you?
It was Lars Ulrich a lot.
Okay.
Dave Lombardo also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Some Tom Hunting, Exodus, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So along the way, you've had a chance to meet these guys.
Yes.
Through the years, and we don't have to name any names, but has everybody been cool, or has there been like one or two guys where you thought, man, I kind of wish I hadn't met that guy?
I didn't have the chance to meet Neil, but everybody else they were all cool. Yeah, like drummers are. They're mostly cool.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you feel like your style and the beats that you came up with were sort of like an early blueprint for what eventually became known as blast beats, especially with the open-handed thing?
I think so, yeah. I think so. That a lot of like the Swedish guys from death metal, black metal, whatever, where they use blast beats, that was their interpretation of Pleasure to Kill. Like I was playing as fast as I could, open-handed, and sometimes it's like I don't know. it's not in time. It's not really in time. It was just like my expression of, yeah, that's how it should sound.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those guys really credit your band, for being kind of a blueprint for what they did.
Yeah.
Guys like you're a Kreator and also Celtic Frost.
Yes.
And you guys were a huge influence.
Yeah.
Before you were named Kreator, though, one of your names was Metal Militia.
Exactly.
But this was before Kill 'Em All came out.
No,
No, it was after?
no. Yeah.
Okay, so you named it after the song.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because at first I was going to say, I thought it was before, and I was thinking, man, how did you know to like come up with a cool title like that?
Yeah.
Then,
No, we were not that advanced back then.
That's funny. So I have to ask, your first record, Inless Pain, was released on Noise Records, where your first few were.
Yeah.
And so the owner of that label, Karl Walterbach, right?
Yeah.
So, funny enough, I had a small connection with him. When I was living in LA in the 90s, he was in Hollywood at that time, like late 90s.
All right.
And a band that I was in, we were playing a show at a club, and Karl had sort of a talent scout that approached us afterwards and said, "Hey, I work for a guy that's interested in you guys. Why don't you come to the office and meet him, and let's just talk." And so we did, and he was wanting to do a little small, nothing big, demo production deal with us. We went into the studio, recorded some songs. Nothing really came of it, which, from what I've heard since, might have been a good thing that nothing came of it. But it's funny. He was also friends with Greg Ginn from Black Flag, and Black Flag was a huge influence on us. Maybe if we'd known that, we would have had some more common ground. But I'm really, despite the good, the bad, and good stuff I've read about him, he had kind of a lot of a really cool vision for the bands he brought on board for Noise. It was you guys and Hellhammer, who became Celtic Frost, and then Voivod. I mean, holy cow! Like, he had a really good vision. What was Kreator's relationship with Karl like? Was it a good thing?
It was a good thing. Yeah, he was always like nice, or like, we never had problems with him. Let me tell you a story about that. Later, like when we already had left Noise Records, we met at some Kreator event, blah blah blah. He was there in Berlin. Then we were talking, and he said, "You know what? The reason I signed you was because Manfred Schütz, that was the head of SPV. You know SPV? So there were like a little fighting between him and Manfred. And Manfred just signed Sodom. And just to have something similar to that, he signed us. That's what he told us, like years later. Yeah, years later. So
wow.
Yeah, see?
Well, how old were you when you signed with Noise?
I think I was already 18. Yeah. Miller was not 18. Miller's parents had to sign the record contract for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you the, like back then, were you the old man of the band at 18?
I'm still.
Still? Okay. Well, so you guys were part of this initial movement of European thrash metal, and at the same time that America had their thrash metal going on, there was this European movement that was cool. And even though Voivod was French-Canadian, to me, they seemed like a European band.
Yeah.
Was there, as the bands from America came across the pond to play in Europe and you guys traveled to the U.S., was there a good relationship between the U.S. and the European thrash metal communities?
Yes, it was. Yeah, and you also could find people that were like into the European thrash, and then there was like a competition going on a little bit, like
really?
Between America and European thrash. Yeah.
And your first U.S. tour and Canadian tour was with Voivod, is that right?
Yes, 87.
So would that have been Voivod's Killing Technology or Dimension Hatros?
No, Killing Technology.
Album? Okay. This is public, so did you like Voivod?
Yes, a lot. Yeah.
Did you realize when you were touring with them back then, even as early as Killing Technology, that they're a pretty special band?
Oh yeah, they were. Yeah.
Was it kind of easy to see even back then?
It was nice, and they're like cool people. We got really well along. The tour was so much fun, even with myself setting up the drums and everything, tearing it down after the show. So, but that was how it was.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So back then on tour, people might be interested to know this now. So nowadays you go on tour, if you're bored, you can just sit and look at your phone all the time. There's all kinds of ways of staying connected with people back home and whatnot. Yeah. But back then it was paper roadmaps and payphones.
Exactly.
And so what did you guys do, like say on your first US tour, to keep your minds occupied when you had all that downtime?
We were partying a lot.
Okay.
I mean a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
It had to be fun. You were young kids. You were out on the road for the first time.
Exactly. What can stop us?
Right.
Yeah.
What was that your first time ever visiting America?
Yes. That was first time flying, first time like being far away, everything was really nice. I loved it. Wow. Especially coming back and telling stories, like everybody that was home and me, the idiot from that little village where we came from, were like experiencing the world, could tell stories and everything. I loved it, really.
Yeah.
I still do.
What was your like what you experienced in America your first time? Was it different than what you thought it would be?
First time it was overwhelming. I couldn't really. Everything was big. Everything was like supersized. I was visiting cities I only knew from movies or from the news or whatever. I was there. I was really there. And first time I remember we were hungry, and then went to a pizza place, and we're like, we ordered. The guy was asking about the size of the pizza. In Germany, when you order pizza, it's one size. Back then, it's one size. And he was asking about the size, large, medium, or small. And we were like, oh, we are hungry. We take a large one. and he was like, really? Everybody took one large one. So everybody had to sit on a separate table with that fucking huge pizza.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
And when you first came to the States at 8, let's see, you would have been like early 20s at this point, right?
Yeah. I was 21.
Okay, so you were able to drink beer in the States.
I was the only one, yeah. I was the only one.
Oh, really?
I was just 21, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So thinking back to these early times, moving on just a little bit. So this would have been, I guess, by the time Extreme Aggression came out. It came out before the wall came down in Berlin, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So shortly thereafter, what was it like when you first, I take it you had not started going to East Germany to play shows yet before the wall came down, right?
Exactly. That was not possible.
Right. So then once the wall came down, how long did it take for the market there to open up for you guys to start playing shows there?
That was pretty quick. I think 3 months later, we played the show in Berlin, in East Berlin. It was, I think the promoter was Karl Walterbach from Noise. They had their fingers in there already. So it started, there was like us, Sabbath, Tankard. Who was the fourth band? I don't know, but there was it went pretty fast. And after that, there was touring, everything. That they were ready for it. They were waiting.
Wow. I bet the vibe in East Germany playing shows was a lot different than the West Germany vibe. I bet they were just like crushingly hungry and just like ferocious crowds, right?
Exactly, yeah. They were waiting, yeah. Wow. To release everything, yeah.
Did it blow your mind the first time you played a show in East Berlin?
Yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah, it was really impressive, everything.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being a teenager sitting in class. We stopped everything we were doing to turn on the TV and watch the wall come down, and it was a big deal.
It was, yeah.
I can only imagine for you guys, it must have been huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and after that, when we came to America, there were really some guys that were asking us, so Germany is united again. Should we be afraid of a war?
Oh, come on.
Yeah, really.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. But
well, like you said, it's a really big country. And because of that, there are some people that don't pay attention to anything that goes on outside.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Something I meant to ask you earlier was like when you were coming up playing drums in the early 80s, when was the first time you ever heard of Meinl Cymbals?
Pretty much in the beginning. But back then they were shitty, like cheap stuff. I had I bought a Meinl right cymbal. It was the worst cymbal I've ever heard. And I was like, no, Meinl is not really the way to go for me. But after a while, like especially now, they progress so much with everything, and they are so interested in the like I'm endorsed by them, and they're really interested. You know what I mean? Not just give him some stuff and that's okay. So everything now that I'm here, it's like a family kind of vibe. You know, it's really really nice. And back then it was shitty. I didn't really like Meinl back then, but now I'm so happy.
Well, the first time I heard of Meinl was probably in the mid-'80s when Stefan Kaufmann was playing Meinl. Mm-hmm. It was strange, though, because he endorsed Meinl, but then also Bill Berry from REM also played Meinl. It was like, wait, how does that work? You've got Balls to the Wall and then, the dude from REM.
Yeah. Variety.
But, yeah. Well, so you also handle some lead vocal duties for Kreator.
Yes.
You still do live, correct?
Sometimes it got rare. I'm too old. I need my breast. I need my breast to drum. But sometimes I do. Yeah.
Well, early on, singing while playing drums, did that shape your drumming style at all? Did it make you think about your approach?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, a little. Yeah.
How so?
Like you have to make compromises. If you sing and drum, it's especially if you're not really familiar what you're doing. You know what I mean? I was learning everything. Like how can I do it? Play the drums and sing at the same time, and I was figuring out for myself how to do it the best way. And after a while, I left the part of singing to Miller, so it got a little easier for me.
Yeah. And your first recording experiences in this, like you guys did Inless Pain in 10 days, I think it was?
Exactly, yeah.
And had you ever been in a studio prior to that?
Not in a real studio, no, just like a amateur or whatever. When we did the first demo, there was like they had a mixing desk and something. They were a PA company, but they had like a room where they could record stuff, and they had like everything. So we did it there. And then the first time in the studio was totally different. Like the guy was asking, "Are you gonna play to a metronome?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
and everything. Like if you listen to Inless Pain, there's like drum mistakes all over the place. And that's where the best versions You know what I mean? It's like I was trying and trying and trying, and it was so hard. Even like when Miller was starting to track the guitars, the guy was like, "Oh no, we are not going to record with that guitar. It sounds like shit." And it was like, "What? That's a fucking metal guitar. It was man." And then they came with like, yeah, it was not in tune. Everything, the intonation was not right. Everything was fucked up. So we had to get another guitar and all that stuff. We were just like stupid idiots that went to a studio. Like when we got the record contract, it was we had a guy, a friend, and he was our manager. Like back then, he was like recording the demo tapes and sending out to people. And one day he came and he said, "Hey guys, you want a record contract?" And we were like, "No, we don't." He said, "It's too late. I got you one." That was the one with Noise. And then we got in contact with them. They told us, "Yeah, you got 4 songs on the demo. We need 6 more. Go ahead. When you're ready, you come to Berlin. We record that stuff." And we were like, "Oh yeah." Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why did you say no initially? Was it because you were maybe just thinking we're not ready yet, or?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We just started, you know. We were just and after that everything went really quick. First record was out. We did some shows. After the Inless Pain recording was like half year later. And it was a quick process to write the songs for Pleasure to Kill, and everything was spontaneous. Everything there that we did was really spontaneous. Not a lot of times thinking about how are we gonna do this, how are we gonna do this. Everything was spontaneous. And after that first tour, first America tour, everything blah blah blah, next record, everything went really well for us. We have been really lucky.
Well, so I know that Norbert told me that you, at some point in your life, were a trained auto mechanic. Is that correct?
Exactly, yeah.
Was that before the band or during or after?
That was during, in the beginning, yeah. Yeah.
Was that just to make some extra money to live on while you were just starting out in the band?
That was, in Germany, it is tradition to back then it was traditional to learn a certain job. Like if you do like carpenter, that you have to do 3 years before you get the certificate that you can go out and show people whatever. So it was my choice to work on cars because I did it before with my father, like for a hobby, working here, do that, repair this a little bit, fix some stuff and everything. And I decided, let's do that. So that came, like, it was kind of like the same time when we started the band. I started my Lehre, that's how we called it, learning. And in the last year of the 3 years, I went up to my boss and I said, I need a vacation for 2 weeks because I'm going to record a record now with my band. And he said, no. I said, what do you mean, no? Of course I need 10 days vacation now because I'm going to go 14 days. He said, no, the vacation is in the summer and in between Christmas and New Year's Eve. That was the only, we were like a really small company, like me, another guy and the boss. And he said, no, it's not possible. I said, fuck you, I just go. And yeah, I got kicked out from the job and everything, but I didn't care. Really, I didn't care.
And so at that point, you had not finished the 3 years yet, correct?
Correct, yeah. But I did finish it afterwards. I could because everything was paid for, like the final testing, everything was paid. I was already in the books for them. So and my father and me went to you also had to go to a school like once a week. And the teacher there was really, really nice. And he got me, we spoke to him and he made it possible that I could finish the process. So I'm a certified car mechanic.
So do you still work on your own cars to this day?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
You know, over in the U.S., the cars that tend to break down the most, and I'm not sure why, but the ones that tend to have the most problems are European cars, basically German cars. Mercedes tend to not break down as much as, say, like an Audi will,
Yeah.
or BMW breaks down a lot over here.
Yeah.
So as a mechanic,
they're not
what's
used.
that?
They're not used to the distances. And if you drive in Germany, it's all short distances. If you drive in
Right.
America, it's like you go all over the place. Like you have so many different climates. Every state has its own climate. You know what I mean? So if you're in Florida, it's humid. If you're in Texas, it's dry. So that's not really good for mechanical parts of a car.
Well, if you ever want to make any extra money, you could always come to the U.S. and be a German auto mechanic. There's a lot of business for it here.
Yeah. That's what I did in the pandemic. I was
really?
I was helping out a friend in his car mechanic shop. So it was nice. It was really, really nice experience. Like everything that was in my head from back then just came back like, boom. That
Really?
Yeah, see, I remember that. That was nice. Nice experience.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, in addition to that, you also are a tattoo artist. You own your own tattoo studio, Creative.
Not anymore.
Oh, okay.
I had to close it, but it was not making any sense. We are so much on the road now with Kreator, and in the beginning, when I was away, I had a guest tattoo artist, but nobody really cared. You know, if they want a tattoo from Ventor, they want a tattoo from Ventor, not just somebody that. So after a while, like November 22, I closed the shop, and yeah, it's okay. Sometimes I do some tattoos in private for my friends, but that's it.
Well, I don't see any tattoos on you. At least the ones I can, like, I don't see any on your arms. No tattoos?
Not really.
Okay.
Only my first try here when I tried like my tattoo. I really learned like how to do tattoos. We had a friend. He was a tattoo artist from Brazil, and after 1 year, I was apprentice.
Apprentice, yeah.
Yeah, and he said, now it's time for you to tattoo. And I was like, yeah, but... And he's like, you don't have any tattoos? You never tattooed? Best thing is tattoo yourself, so you know what you're doing. It was like... It was a nice experience. I was torturing myself for 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you really nervous the first time you tattooed somebody else?
The first time I tattooed somebody else was my wife.
Oh, gosh.
And I was nervous, yes, of course. And I mean, I think I was nervous for 10 years. You know, each tattoo, because it's everything is different. You got a different skin, you got a different person, you got a different design. Everything is new. So after, 10, 15 years it took to really know the game, you know what I mean? To like, no problem. Fuck. If so,
yeah.
And mistakes happened. They happened. You know, you do something and the skin is not like a sheet of paper. It got holes, it got bumps, it's not straight. So mistakes happen. And in the beginning it was like, whoa, I did something wrong. But after a while, you learn to fix the mistakes. And that's when you're starting to get into the game. That's nice. Yeah, I can do that. Do it just a little bit different and everything. So, I never thought that when I started, that it would really get me into like the art of tattooing, like everything, getting connected with different people, learning new stuff. Everything. It was so great. I love that job too. It's good.
Did you ever design any of the artwork for merchandise or album covers for Kreator?
I did in the early days, but after a while, no, not.
So wait, some of those early album covers are your artwork?
No, not the album covers. So some t-shirt designs, like the Son of Evil first Kreator shirt. That's my design, and some after that. I don't know. We always had like people doing stuff. You know, everybody was interested. How can I do your artwork for your cover? And they were back then. They were like real artists. You know what I mean? I was always trying to get better and everything, but yeah, whatever.
I mean, you guys have had some killer album artwork or really cool stuff. And so I have to ask, I won't say who, but a drummer from a super famous metal band one time told me that, well, first let me say, with your killer artwork, I have to assume that your merchandise has always done really well for you guys.
Yes.
So same with this guy in this band. And I asked him, basically, would you wear your band's merchandise? And he said, not the merchandise that sells. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, basically for us, he said, I don't know about other bands, but for us, any type of, any design that's like the dumbest design, the one that is for like the stupidest of people out there, he said, that's the one that tends to sell the most.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
He said really?
Really? Yeah, I call them pizza shirts, because you look at it and you don't really know what's on it. And it's like, I went up to a merch guy, it's like a lot of times I was like, what the fuck is that design? And he's like, the best selling one. It's like, really? And it's always like that. Still.
Why? Yeah, I wonder why.
I don't know. I got no idea.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, so after Extreme Aggression, a few years later, here comes the 90s. And I know you were out of the band for a few years in the 90s, but the 90s were, aside from bands like Pantera, the 90s were a pretty rough time for a lot of metal bands that were like old school metal.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of, there was the stuff like new metal that came around and whatnot, but it was a tough time.
Yeah.
So how did the 90s treat Kreator?
It was a tough time, like you said. I mean, we were surprised that it was going that way, because since then, everything was just up the hill. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh my God, you have to really work hard to be somewhere to survive, not just do what you like. It became like work. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, I know that in the early 90s, the story, at least in the US, is that Nevermind came out and it killed hair metal.
Yeah.
But it didn't really, did it also kill thrash metal?
It did. It really did.
Really?
Yeah. We hated the fucking grunge scene. We really hated it. Yeah, you put on MTV, all you could see was Nevermind, whatever, Pearl Jam, blah, 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 all that stuff. And we're really like, no, come on. But we survived.
You did. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Well, were there any markets in the 90s where you just knew, like it somehow was, it was bulletproof? Nirvana didn't touch it, and you could go to that market and you could always make good money and things would be cool. Was there places like that still?
South America. Yeah. You can't sell any records there because it's all bootleg. They do all bootleg stuff, but the shows, amazing shows in South America. Like really enthusiastic people. They are there with the full heart. You can to buy a ticket for the show in South America for some people it's like half a year working just for that show.
Wow.
To get enough money to go to that show. And when they are there, they really enjoy it and give everything. And it's still the same when I play shows in South America. Sometimes it's like it's magic, like the little hairs on your back of your neck get up. It's like you feel that shiver inside, and it's just magic. I don't know why. Sometimes
That's
in
awesome.
America, it's just boring to play a show because the people they're not really interested. You know what I mean? Because they see a
Yeah.
show every day if they want. They can see a show every fucking day. The venue you play, you see the boards, everything is this band yesterday, tomorrow is gonna be whatever. And it's different. It's different.
So fast forward a little bit. At one point in the like the first decade of the 2000s, didn't you have to take a leave from tour for a little bit, and Marco Miniman had to fill in for you?
Yes.
Is that right?
I had problems with my shoulder. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And I
Whose decision?
had the feeling when if I'm not taking a break now, I'm gonna destroy my arm and I'm not gonna be able to play any drums anymore. So I took the break and it really did good for me.
Did you have to have surgery or anything, or was it just physical therapy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whose decision was it to bring Marco in? Was he a friend of yours?
No, not really. I think he was the only one to be able to play the set in like to get to know the songs in that short amount of time. You know, there was not a lot of time for him to. He was still learning songs on tour. When he went out with them, he was still learning some songs. And Kreator is not easy to play, the Kreator stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And
no, it requires a lot.
Yeah, and that's how it happened. He was the one who was able to do the job.
Okay, I saw him with Necrophagist one time. Yeah, it's impressive. I mean, he's one of those drummers that kind of can jump around and play a lot of different styles. Mm-hmm. Did you wonder when you came back and started playing again? Did you kind of quietly wonder, like, I wonder what they thought about how Kreator felt to play with another drummer? It was kind of like your girlfriend went out with another guy on a date, but maybe you didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if your girlfriends then tell you you're 5 million you're a better fit for me than the other guy,
doesn't matter.
No, not at all.
Okay. No, I get it. Well, so you guys have released maybe 15 albums at this point? Yeah. And you're still touring the world. In fact, you said that you had to close the tattoo studio. There's just not enough time with how much you guys are on the road. Yeah. It's super impressive that you're out this much as the band keeps going. So, and this is I just wanted to wrap it up here. This is basically my last question. Do you guys have you ever talked about, like, do you see an exit ramp down the road, or is there just no stopping until something forces you to stop?
Exactly. There's no exit. It's always like I would never, in 2 months I'm going to turn 58, and I would never in my wildest dreams that I'm still going to do what I'm doing. Surprisingly, I don't know. It's really nice to do it. Yeah.
What is there? What's the hardest part of touring now for you at almost 58?
For me, it's being away from home still. Like, because I love everybody at home, my family, my friends, everything, the area where I live. I like to go home. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you still live in the same part of Germany that you grew up in?
Yes, exactly.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So I have to say, this has been an absolute pleasure to get to chat with you. I even had to text some of my buddies earlier and say, guess who I'm getting to do an interview with today? And they were pretty impressed.
That's cool.
Yeah. So thank you for all of your time and for sharing all of this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hopefully I didn't give you too many of the same questions you've had before.
No, it was nice. Really nice. Yeah.
And I lied. Last question. So earlier we talked about noise and about Carl. Did you know about this book that's been written about noise called Damn the Machine?
Yes.
Have you read the book?
No, not yet. No. Did you?
Okay. I've not actually. I almost hit the buy button on Amazon for it yesterday, but instead I bought the book on Metal Blade Records.
I heard it should be good. Somebody told me it's really good.
Which one? The Metal Blade book?
Yep.
Okay, good. Yeah. I just didn't know. I'm going to order it anyway, but I wanted to hear if you had a review on the book.
No, I don't know. I don't.
Okay. So, Yule, thank you so much for all your time.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks again. Take care.
Maybe we meet sometime.
I would love that. That would be great. When you are in the U.S. next time.
Right. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Please let me know. I'd love to come out and have a beer and say hello.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. Take care.
All right. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.